It's now the final sprint to the championship here for the BUSR F1 Spring Championship. The final three races are upon us as the parade enters into Spa in Belgium for the final stop in the European continent. Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 6 of the BUSR Spring Championship. So, 4 entire races remain in the championship, including sprint races, and it's a moment where, after Cameron came out from his DNF in Baku, has been on a rampant race win streak, and here he's going to hope to try and make it 5 wins in a row. I'm joined today by Alex Bagnall. Hello, Alex.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here, and what a great circuit, especially for racing, commentary, everything. No one can complain at a great Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. We all love it, and I'm sure we're going to get some fantastic racing action and, a bit of championship action maybe.
Absolutely. Been an exciting season so far, and the return to the calendar here for Spa-Francorchamps has been Friday. Exciting racing action here in the BUSR, both in the ACC and in the F1 Metasphere. Last time we went racing here, it was a comfortable Cameron Searle win in last year's Spring Championship. Title contender Joe, who is in this year, he finished third, so he's going to hope and try and make it his first win, not just in Spa, but also in this championship as well. And Woolley has got grounds to build up from, who used to be a title contender earlier on. He finished the F1 sprint race back in 12th, and after coming off 6th in Austria, he's hoping to try and get some ground to build up.
Yeah, it should be interesting, especially with the championship still up for grabs. You never know what can happen. You never know. Cameron could have a little spin. It's just, everyone's got to take the opportunities, especially at Spa. Anything can happen. Obviously, you've got the main DRS straights, and it can cause absolute chaos with many overtaking opportunities at the top of the Kemmel straight as well. But yeah, it can all get decided. A lot of overtakes, a lot of moves, and I'm expecting a lot of great battling and a lot of people trying to make an impact in the championship as a whole.
Absolutely, and indeed, because we've got ourselves a very exciting battle for second place, actually, which may seem like Cameron Searle has more or less may have run away for it. He's still got about 4 races left to navigate to try and hold on to that lead, and he's got, and as you mentioned this before, this is one of his toughest title contentions that he has to fall off with. Ben will be back after his absence over in Austria, so he's going to hope to try and get grounds to make himself back up into contention. And as mentioned before, Woolley finished in P6. He's going to try and get into a podium himself. So all in all, going to be a very exciting Belgium Grand Prix. We were just coming off from Austria, which was the shortest track in the calendar. And now we're moving on to swiftly as the 7-kilometer track, which is comfortably the longest in our calendar. So it's going to be very interesting here to see how these drivers manage to navigate here around Spa.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Like I said, the standings as well. I'm looking at it now. There's Josh Woolley on 137 points, Joe on 132 points, Ben Mills still on 115 points, Geek on 105 points, and on 100 points last gen. So it could be very, very close for the top 3 as a whole. Obviously, Cameron has slightly run away with it, so we'll see how he does today in terms of defending that position. But obviously, for P2, it is all up for grabs, and that could get very spicy for racing, especially at Spa. So yeah, it's so close. Any position, any sort of mistake in this race could really cost you in the long run as well. So I think it's only 2 weeks to go as well. So yeah, it's all coming closer to an end. So yeah, positions definitely up for grabs.
Yeah, 2 weeks left to go. There's 4 races, including this one as well. And the only thing that just really navigates here, and for a lot of people here too, because we're coming up to the stages where drivers can be eliminated from the contention now. So for here, between Geek, Ben, Joe, and Woolley, and even last year Newt to an extent, it's just a matter of the fact that every now sort of way that you don't perform very well, you kind of drop off on that contention for that coveted P2 spot, and even again the championship as well, because it depends. Because the thing for Cameron is that Cameron has always been pressured throughout this one ever since that he's taken the lead over at Silverstone now, but he's provided really well under the pressure. But he has crumbled under before. He's done it last season, and he's done it also back in Baku. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether if he can able to hold it up in Spa, which again he's also admitted is one of his weakest tracks.
Yeah, it's one of them tracks as well that I feel like it's got a bit of everything. In terms of high to low speed corners. Obviously it's predominantly high speed, but then you've still got some slower speed in sector 2, which can catch drivers out. And I feel like it's one of them tracks that as a whole you've got to just be calm, keep collected, and just keep your head held high, keep focused, because anything can happen at Spa. So yeah, definitely, it's one of them tracks what it can go wrong for a lot of drivers. Cameron, all he has to do say is just keep his head. Just he doesn't necessarily even have to win. He just needs to keep up there in contention, and just fighting for the top spaces. But yeah, obviously seen it in the past. He has been dominant at other tracks, but if today might not be his day, then it's a chance for the likes of Josh and Joe to maybe, put a bit of pressure on him.
Absolutely. Also, as mentioned, coming into Spa for the qualifying round as well, we've gotten back in Austria. Cameron Stowe's gotten only his second pole position, so he's not been, as strong in qualifying as much as he has been in the race. In fact, throughout this entire race, throughout this entire championship, rather, we've got 3 different pole sitters from Baku, and then for Joe, and then from Cameron and Willie. So it is interesting, given how Ben has always been so strong in qualifying. He's always come to finish off in second. He'll be hoping to try and get his first pole position in the BUSR career, and it really is dependent on it because he's more than capable of doing it. I think he just has been fairly unlucky, but with the car slowly coming out here, we're going to see whether or not that will be the case now, as Ben is one of the first to come out now on track.
Here we go then. Drivers getting out for their first initial out laps and onto the first lap. So at the minute we've got riding on board with Ben. First out there in the Williams as he flies up to the top of Radion. But yeah, should be exciting to get these initial laps in, set the marker. Obviously it's so important to get a banker lap in around here, especially if you invalidate later on. It could be all important just to get a decent, nice, clean lap in, as all these cars are coming out on the track. We've got 16 drivers with us today, and yeah, should be very competitive in the early stages. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens here in qualifying and how that impacts the start of the race, because I'm certain there'll be definitely moves coming all the way up here into Lacombe at turn 5 and 6, right from the get-go really. So yeah, especially when that DRS gets open, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, initial cars coming out on tracks. Here's for the out laps. But I mean, what are we predicting here at Spa?
It's going to be interesting to see what we can predict in Spa, to be honest with you. I think, given that we have got one of the longest DRS straights on the calendar in the Camel Straight, where there's going to be bound to be some overtaking, so I reckon pole position here is not going to be as important as in the other races in, say, like Singapore, which is coming up next week. But still important nonetheless, because it's just going to be pulling off with that DRS train, really, and I think DRS is going to be super effective here, and then the rest of the sectors you just need to keep behind your driver as much as you possibly can, and use, as much as the aerodynamic force as you possibly can. Because again, with these corners, it's very easy to violate the track limits by just going the 2 wheels off the grass. So good, for example, of Pouillon in turn 12. Very easy to suffer from that understeer and get a time penalty. And we have seen it before. I think we've seen it before, like in Montreal, and Austria was also quite filled with track limit violations as well. And Belgium, I think, will more or less be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think we've got Cameron on the Inter so far, so we're just checking his setup's working all right. But here we go then, Ben riding on board for the first lap as he heads into the source, heavy on the brakes, get down the gears, round at third, and get the car rotating, hooked up on the exit, right onto the rumble strips and flying up the gears as we head all the way up to the Eau Rouge, up to the top of Radion. Here we go, flies through, should be easily flat out to the top of it as he gets that DRS wide open as he heads onto the Kemmel Straight, and a long run down to Lacombe. Not bad so far in sector 1, nice and planted for Ben, and we'll see what it is when he hits that time lights of 30.0 in that first sector. Avoid that initial curb at turn 6 and now round Malbody at turn 7 and flat from here all the way down to Ravage, and get the car rotated, hopefully no oversteer, get on the power as soon as you possibly can as we head into No Name Corner, turn number 9, flat as we go on the exit as we are on the route down to Pouillon at turn number 10, as we'll see, take this as wide as you can, marginally just off the throttle, then straight back on it again as we head to Las Fagnes at turn number 12, flying right-hander into a strong left-hander as no real slow speed there, onto the curb, flat out from here as we go into Stavolo, heavy on the brakes, down to 4th gear, back up through the gears again as we're going flat out all the way down to the final chicane and past Blanchimont at turn 16 as flat up from here, tactically using that overtake as well, but flat from here onto the curve around Blanchimont, looking pretty planted so far for Ben, decent banker lap so far into the final chicane as we're heading down to 3rd gear, around the left-hander, flat out again with the DRS, and to the line we go. What's it going to be for Ben? It's going to be a 41-1.
That's pretty strong for a first one there. And look how fast that is. Mad Dog has only got Aria's gotten 3/10 now, so that's really strong there from Ben. But Aria, an even more impressive. Very impressive for that strong, only 3/10 off. And I think Ben will be absolutely ecstatic with that also as well, given it is just the early parts of the qualifying session. Still, with the 18 minutes though, and this being so long, it means that the drivers here will not be able to, have much of a leeway or put in as many laps as they possibly could in, say, like Austria or Montreal or in Silverstone. Dasher, a 141 flat. Wow.
Huge lap from Dasher there. Puts it 600th above Ben. It's very close between them two at the top. Still got cars flying in. Obviously, Cameron on the inters. He's just testing out everything as he's invalidated his lap anyway. But he's heading to turn one. Might go for a bit of a push lap on the intermediates in that Red Bull. Thomas and Joe still yet to set lap times as well. Alpha must have made a mistake on his lap, so must have backed out. He's in the Williams down in P12, 15 seconds off the pace. So obviously got a lot to give. Atomic Fire 4.5 down as well. As Joe coming into the pit lane, must have invalidated his run early on in qualifying. But at the minute, Dasher and Ben setting the early pace in the 41.0s and a 41.1 from Ben. Decent banker lap so far. 12 minutes to go. We'll have people coming in the pits and getting ready for their second runs. But yeah, still expecting times from Searle, Thomas and Joe at the bottom three at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be competitive for that pole position today.
Dasher's on a really good chance to get his first, I believe it is his first podium actually in the championship. He's finished fourth a couple of times. In fact, his last position that he finished fourth was over in Silverstone. So him being on provisional pole is really, really, frankly impressive. Of course, Cameron Zola is on the inters, but he shouldn't be, in my opinion, too lace on about it because he has not gotten pole position in several times before, so I hope he knows what he's doing, to be honest with you, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on the intermediates, obviously flying through at the minute. Should box for softs later on anyway. But yeah, it might be important to get these early laps in, to be honest, for Dasher and Ben. So yeah, they might have the advantage going into the second half of qualifying. But let's see what the confidence will be like from Searle to get on the softs and get out there once again, as he's still going for it on the intermediates. What's the time going to be when he comes to the line?
So he's not going to be able to record it, I don't think.
Yeah, 48.7 though on the inters. Invalidated time anyway, but yeah, when's he going to come in? Because it's 10 minutes to go now. He's done a fair few laps on these inters. He's just wanting to get one lap in, or is he going to come in at the end of this lap? I'm sure that should be the case to get on the softs.
The fact that he's managed to invalidate on the intermediates, I think, is a generational talent, in my opinion. Absolutely incredible.
It's absolutely pushing hard on the inters. Well,
he really is. Really is.
It through.
Just 10 minutes left to go. BB Yagi, P13 for the Alpine, is our first retirement as well. I think it was a collision over in I think it was Sector 2, if I'm not mistaken. But still just about a couple of cars left on the... Actually, the good thing about Spa-Francorchamps, and it's almost like a case that we have seen here before. Large track means that there's a less of a likelihood of being impeded or having traffic to block up your runs. So this is going to be quite crucial actually for the front runners. So it's not going to be much of a fluke, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a big chance to show some pace at Spa. And like you said, it's not easy to get blocked as Geeks on a lap heading through Sector 2 as he heads down Pouan into Las Wagner's at turn 12. As in the right-hander. Let's see what a Sector 2 time is. Let's see if he's improving in that Red Bull. See if he can close in to the front row. Is that currently 9 tenths off the pace at the minute? 2.5 tenths improvement. Not bad through that middle sector. As now he's flying through. There's not many mistakes you can make in the final sector. The only place you can really make up time is the final chicane at turn 18 and turn 19. But Geek, here we go, flying through Blanchimont. As I love to see the speed flying through the corners. Is now heavy on the brakes to head into chicane, get the car hooked up and ready as on the exit, slowly get on the power again onto the rumble strips with the DRS open, and Geek puts it, just stays in P4 but improves by 3 tenths of a second, so slowly ramping up. Let's see what he's got later on in qualifying. But on the second run, closing up to Shinto in the AlphaTauri. But so far, the Red Bull just getting up to speed.
It's a decent run there from Geek. Has been on a really good run since Austria. He has returned back to his momentum now, and he's continuing to do it so by being in the top half of the or podium contention rather, and he's hoping to replicate those successes now. On with Yeezy, who is I think still going on for his run as he heads to the third sector of turn 15 of Stavlot, and then through 16, as you mentioned before. Blanchimont is what's going to be upcoming, and just going to see how fast he's going to throw that Aston Martin around. Just under 8 minutes left to go. Still a lot of drivers with Thomas and Joe still yet to set their fastest lap times, invalidated on theirs. So it's going to be interesting and crucial for them to set clean lap times now. As Yeezy enters through the final 2 corners through turn 19, into the pits he goes for the Aston Martin.
Yeah, not improving there for the Aston Martin. Other drivers out there. Thomas is fine on a lap time in Sector 2 as he's flying through P1, and now catching him, going again into Las Fagnes at turn 12 as get the car hooked up on the left-hander. Once again, slow down the power as we head into heavy braking at Stavelov and let the car roll on the power to the curb, and on the power we go once again as all the way down past Blanchimont. Is Thomas going to improve on his lap time in the Mercedes? Let's find out in a few corners time. He heads to the chicane. As here we go for Thomas in the Mercedes. Needs this lap time to get one on the board. With 7 minutes to go, he can get another in after this one as well. But what's the pace like on the softer compound tyres? To the line we go. What's he found in that Silver Arrow? To the line we go. It's only P10 and 1.4 seconds off the pace of Thomas, as he just crept into that top 10 positions ahead of Jackans. But yeah, got one more run left in qualifying for him. Let's see what he's got in his locker.
Absolutely. It's James coming out for the final 2 corners now. I think he's going to be heading over into starting his flying lap now, exiting out from the final corner of turn 20. Great improvement for him. He gets himself up into 4, so that's going to be Ferrari 1 and 4. It's James with a very good improvement. Also purple.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, it was a very nice lap. Oh, as Ben puts it at the top of the times for provisional pole, it's a 41.038, improves by 900th of a second. It's very small margins between Ben and Dasher. I'm sure Dasher might just respond in a few moments' time. Mad Dog, he's just sat in his lap in P6. Jackans, he's also in a lap, heading to the final part of Sector 2. And here we go with Alpha on his out lap as he's about to set another lap time on his second lap in the Williams. As let's see what he's got on this second one with 6 minutes to go. Is doing improvement to try and catch up to the top 5 as Atomic Fire. He's also starting his lap as well, as he's currently 3.6 off the pace. But Jackans so far 1.7 seconds down. He's not going to be improving as he heads into Sector 3. Yeah, pulling into the pit lane.
Oh, he crashed! He's retired!
Oh my days. Into the pit lane and into the pit wall is Jackans, and that's the front left straight off the car, as that is out of qualifying for the Alpine. That's unfortunate, and just a lack of concentration surely for Jackans. But into the wall he goes as Finn comes into the pit lane as well. But 6 minutes to go. It's Ben on provisional pole.
Absolutely, just waiting for Cameron Saul to set his legitimate lap time now. Riding aboard now with him as he's going to try and navigate through the other traffic just up ahead. Again, with this traffic as well, the thing is, Camel Straight is a very good advantage, but from turn 7 all the way down to 16, it's just dirty air, and you're just effectively being very slow with all these traffic cars ahead of you, just slowing you down with how much that generates. Last gen Newton presses himself and gets himself up into 6th.
Yeah, not bad from himself. It's close from P3 downwards, so it's going to be a big fight for the final podium place. Shinto 5 tenths down. It's James just over that, and 6 tenths. I mean, the exact same time for Geek and Last Gen. That's very impressive with the Red Bull and the McLaren as Cameron. So the man to watch then. He was on the Inters for quite a long time on a completely dry track, just getting his bearings out there. But finally on the softs with 4 minutes to go. Let's see what the Red Bull has got in his locker. 41 to beat for pole position. Can he close up to Ben and Dasher at the top with only, I mean, this lap? And I'm sure he might be able to get one more in after that. But here we go, the Red Bull, as he gets that power down with the DRS wide open as it heads into La Source. As heavy on the brakes at the 50-meter board, down to third gear, get the car rotated, let it roll through on the power once again. Looked absolutely planted through there. As the Red Bull heads past the DRS detection point, which will be important for the race, up Eau Rouge, and round turn 3, and to the top of Radion, past the speed trap, and onto the Kemmel straight as he gets that DRS wide open in sector 1 for Cameron. So it looks pretty decent and planted. Let's see if it's going to be purple. As in the Red Bull, it is 5 tenths improvement so far. It's not really representative, but so far no purple sector for himself as he flies past Malmedy into Rivage, and heavy on the brakes once again. You've got to let the car run through the long right-hander as he gets to power on the preparation for No Name corner, as on the power again on the rumble strips as Cameron Sill through this middle sector. What is he gonna give as he heads down Pouon? How much pace has he got in the final 2 sectors? So far it's looked pretty planted for the Red Bull. Can he finally close up to Ben and Dasher at the top on these softer compound tyres? He looked pretty good through Las Fagnes and into the braking zone at 50 metre pod at Stavalo, and the right hander onto the long curve of the exit. 4.4 seconds improvement, and it's a purple middle sector. Is that representative as we head round Blanchimont and to the final chicane? What has Cameron still got? Is this going to be provisional pole? It's 2 minutes 30 on the clock. It's a 41 to beat at the top. But here we go, heavy on the brakes once again. Let the car run past the left-hander and get on the power once again when he sees that curb at the top. On the power with the DRS, to the line he goes.
Oh.
It's going to be P3 for Cameron Searle.
Oh wow, 2 tenths slower. He's luckily he's got another run though, so he's gonna try and see if he can make an improvement. Actually, I think he's slowing down. Yeah, he is slowing down, so I don't believe he is going to go for another run, unless if he doesn't have enough time. So Cameron Searle will be in P3 for today's race. So that means it's going to be a drag race between Ben and Dasher for that pole position.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad place to be starting for P3, especially on lap 1 when we're heading up over to the top of Radion and down the Kemmel straight. You can easily attack early on in the race, and I'm sure with a bit of DRS games as well later on. Cameron won't be disappointed with that unless he can maybe charge up the battery and go for one straight after. I mean, it's going to be tricky on the used tyres, and it's going to be pretty hard to improve. So yeah, it might be game over for Cameron Searle to get that pole position, but it's going to be a big race for Ben and Dasher in qualifying to grab that pole position, and whoever can get it can really throw something in the mix. So yeah, everyone else coming out for their final out laps, and there's 1 minute 10 to go.
Ben and Dasher are both looking for very different things. I'm pretty sure both of them have the race win in their minds, but they've also have never got pole positions in their in the Spring Championship at all. Dasher is looking for his first podium, whilst Ben is looking for his race win. But also keep an eye out for Joe as well, the other driver that's managed to set up the other one, apart from Cameron, on the grid right now that has set a pole position here in the championship now. He has yet to set his first legitimate lap now. I think he's going to be waiting until the very last moment to make his mark now, as he's going very slowly through turn 17 now, and slowly is going to be able to put the foot down, heading for the final 2 corners now. We shall see.
Yeah, big pressure on Joe as Ben, Dasher are both on their final laps of qualifying. They'll see what they can do as Joe, he's about to set his one and only chance of getting a decent position for the race. He gets the power down on his run up to La Source. Let's see what Joe can do in the Aston Martin. Can he actually set a representative time to try and get within that top 5? Let's have a look, and it might be all important for the championship's sake and what he can compete with going into the final 2 weeks of the championship. But here we go then to the top of Radion. Look pretty decent through sector 1 so far as he gets that DRS wide open. No complaints as he heads onto the Kemmel straight. He cannot invalidate this one as he heads to the end of sector 1. It's a 29.9. It's a very impressive sector 1 to be honest, as he now heads round Lacombe and into Malmedy, as it's looked pretty planted through there as well. Joe setting a really good sector 1 time as he heads into Rivage. Long right hander. He's got to keep this right now. Can he match a good second sector as he heads through No Name? Very wide line on the entry and the exit. It works very well through there. It looks very planted as he now heads round Pouon and to the bottom of Las Fagnes at the beautiful chicane. And I very much like these 2 corners. It very much throws you off as you come past the high speed But here we go, Joe, in the Aston Martin as Dasher. He's about to set his final lap. He is improving by 300th of a second. Can he snatch a first pole position away from Ben as he heads to the line? It's the Ferrari. Is he going to snatch it away?
Wow.
He absolutely is. It's a 40.9. It's an absolutely mesmerising lap from the Ferrari, who's surely going to take his first pole position. Alpha's about to cross line. Where can he put it in the Williams? As it's only P9 as he puts it ahead of Zizi. I think there's still some drivers still yet to set a laps. Joe's, he's about to finish as well. As Mad Dog finishes in P4, Cameron's still only P3 as Joe puts it in P2 with his one and only lap. Very impressive stuff as he came to the line and beats Ben as Last Gen puts it in P8. Geek, the final person across the line, in P6.
And that is qualifying almost over and done with as Fenn comes off for the final two corners to see if he can make any last gap improvements now as it goes home to the pit straight. No improvements from there. But Dasher, what an incredible qualifying performance from him to get himself up into pole position, and Joe sits comfortably alongside him in second.
Absolutely. What a bit of qualifying action there. It got very, very close and competitive as we got to the line. Is that what you expected going into qualifying?
Absolutely not. No, not so ever.
I mean, I wonder if he didn't go on the inters, did Cameron? I reckon, could he have competed, do you reckon, there? Only had that one run. So do you reckon that affected him?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having less runs means that you're less track accumulated as well in such a qualifying environment as well. He has done it before in the previous races, but I think in this case, I think him being the inters has really more or less hindered him. But Dasher, like, he's done pretty good qualifying wise and always got himself up into the upper midfield. But this is the first time he was actually in pole position contention throughout the entire session. And honestly, it's just well deserved for the Scuderia Ferrari driver.
Yeah, absolutely. He only sits P9 in the championship, but today that could be a lot different if he, is managed to even get on the podium. That could be huge for him. But yeah, Cameron, he's going to be a competitive position. It was a huge lap from Joe to the line as well. It could be important for the championship as well if he can get past Josh Woolley in the championship today. But only one lap, and it only took one lap to get himself on the front row, I'm pretty sure, in the end. So yeah, it was impressive from the Aston Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's between more or less Dasher, Ben, Joe, and Cameron, and maybe Mad Dog as well with his last minute improvement to get himself up to P5. Can probably have a look for that to see within the remaining 22 laps that we'll have slowly coming and waiting for us to see who can potentially win this Belgium Grand Prix.
Going to be very competitive. It's going to be very, very competitive. Only 22 laps, a lot of overtaking opportunities, but the midfield is going to be very hot as well with Geek, Last Gen, Mad Dog. They're all going to be up there fighting for the final place on the podium. I'm pretty sure of that, especially if the likes of Joe or Cameron or Dasher, if they make any mistakes, they're going to surely squabble that one up, especially at the top to try and get higher up on the podium, really.
Absolutely. Slowly with the cars going to be starting lining up on the grid very shortly here with the, as we mentioned before, 22 laps. It's shortest laps here in the calendar. But given all that we've just seen and, with more or less how like qualifying is in predicament to the race, what would you say would be your predictions for this Grand Prix, Alex?
I mean, it's tricky to say, really. I think Joe's going to perform well, to be honest. We only saw one lap in qualifying. It only took one lap in qualifying, so I think Joe might have a bit of pace in his locker to take to Dasher at the front. I think Dasher obviously had a lot of laps, so, might have helped him a bit more in terms of grabbing that pole position, but looked very strong throughout the whole thing. But, I mean, it's impressive to see Dasher at the top, and I'd like to see him win the race, to be honest, but I don't know. I've just got a feeling that Joe might win this one.
That's a pretty good actually prediction, I must say. Like the thing with Dasher is that whenever it depends like who leads, right? Because coming through, it's the third lap. Whenever you have the DRS, you're pretty much you've got no advantage really coming through the longest DRS straight on the calendar. So you're pretty much toast coming through turn 3, or turn 4. So in that case, like it's going to be interesting to see like whoever gets the lead. Usually Cameron manages to get the lead, for instance, from pole position and then pull away enough. So it's going to be interesting to see whoever leads coming out of turn 1 and sticks by it. It's going to be interesting to see if they can pull away with that 1 second, because it's going to be absolutely crucial throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's the longest track, and you've got the most corners to, just try and pull away. But I mean, Cameron might be in a good position where the DRS is enabled, even on the first lap, to put some drivers ahead of him under a bit of pressure. But yeah, with the longest DRS straight, it's going to come into a lot of play, and I think it's going to be tricky for Dasher to keep it if he hasn't gapped by over a second at that point. But yeah, I mean, it's in anyone's hands to take this one, to be honest. It could be very competitive if everyone stays in that DRS as well, and just keep within it on each lap. But only 22 laps. People probably going to try go undercuts as well. So yeah, I don't know. Anything can happen here at Spa, and it's one of them tracks what anything can happen. So yeah, so it's always a nice one to commentate.
Yep, true words from Murray Walker, I must say. Everything can and will happen at Spa-Francorchamps.
It's Spa. It's going to get dead competitive. As there we go, formation lap action as Dasher heads away from pole position on the softer compounder tyre. Interesting. Hards for Joe all the way down to Mad Dog in P7. It's James and Last Gen on the mediums. Alpha and Thomas on the hards. Zizi down to Finn on the mediums. Atomic Fire went for the hards, and only Dasher and Mark Sawyer has went for the softs. Interesting then.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably the case that Dasher is just trying to, as we mentioned before, he's going to be leading the race, so he's going to be hoping for a very good start here and just hope to get that second away from Joe. And, you know, the rest of the runners on the hards, that effectively means that they're going to be trying to, you know, claw for anything that they possibly can and then have a midst of their own battle as well as the cars slowly start to line up onto their grid slots.
Here we go then, the great Spa-Francorchamps circuit, the longest on the calendar, 7 kilometers, 4.3 miles. It's Dasher's first pole position. Can he take it away from here? Let's have a look, because Joe in P2 is not going to let this one slide, and I'm telling you now, we're going to have some interesting battles as we head up to the top of Radion. Formation lap now over, is about to get underway, with Cameron still not exactly competing at the top, but let's see what his pace is like in the race. Let's go.
Well, yeah, it's yeah, that's interesting. I think we're having a glitch there with one of the empty grid slots you can see there. I don't think I think it might be a technical glitch, I think, so we're going to be standing by to see if there's anything that comes on as Arya now has joined, so I think that was him.
Interesting. Despawning car, typical AA. But yeah, let's see if it's an aborted start here. But out of the grid slot, I don't know. Is he going to spawn back, or is it going to be a full restart? Let's have a look.
Before this race starts, I want to give a special mention to Special Thanks for partnering. And we have technical issues, so we've got some people retiring.
Yeah. Typical. Oh my.
All right, so I think slowly while we get the servers fixed, take this special moment to thank Special Effect for partnering with us.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
And thanks for Special Effect once again for partnering with us. So yeah, we've gotten the lobby having some issues, so we're going to be slowly going to be climbing back into a restart very shortly. But while that happens, we get to talk a little bit more about the circuit in itself. So we did see that Dasher went on the softs and everyone else went on the hards. So we can clearly see that Dasher was hoping to try and get a good start, but also try to run away with it by lap 2. So that the DRS advantage is no longer in Joe's and the rest of the hards. So I wonder, is that the optimal strategy, would you say, Alex, for in Dasher's position, would you say?
It's a risk. It's a huge risk going on the softs, because if it does not pay out for him, he could be pitting a lot early and be struggling in the second stint. I don't know. He kind of relies on himself to have that pace on the softs to pull away, and he's going to need to pull away and make an instant impact. So it all depends on the start. But I wonder if now he's got a chance to restart, he might reconsider and go for something different. But if he does go for the softs again, it could be very interesting to see what he does in the first stint and see what the pace is like compared to the hard runners. But I think, I don't know what the actual strategy is. I think it might be a hard soft. But yeah, obviously in the second stint, lower fuel on the soft, it's going to be a lot quicker than struggling on the older hard. So yeah, it's a risky one for Dasher, but he needs to make it work in the first stint, really.
It's a good thing that you mentioned fuel load as well, because I didn't really compute that, to be honest. But you're right. Whenever you go into the softs and you have a lighter fuel load, you'll be able to push more out of the car than, say, at the start for what Dasher was trying to do exactly. But again, I think that himself was a bit of a necessity. But again, if it didn't work out, then the rest of the second and the third sectors are high-speed corners. He's going to be burning that softs super, super fast. And effectively, if you're pushing away for that as much as you possibly can, then I think it might be a little bit detrimental, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, he's probably got 3 properly strong laps until he starts losing grip, and especially when he gets past the lap 5 mark, the softs will be gone. They'll be absolutely gone. So it's just it depends on what he can do in the first 4 laps if he goes for them softs. But I mean, I feel like it depends on the guys behind as well. If they fight as well while he's out front, it could make a difference. There's a lot of different scenarios that can happen here. But I still think in the second stint, no matter what, he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle a lot with the faster, softer runners behind. So yeah, I don't know. It's a risky one. If it pays off, then fair enough. You've done the right strategy and you've done a masterclass on the softs. But yeah, it is probably about 20 to 90% ratio on them. 20 to 80%, can't add up to 100 apparently. That is going to pay off on the softs in the early stint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just going to be interesting to see how all this is going to unravel, because if he does end up going with the compound as the rest do, like Joe or the others for the hards, for instance, then it's going to be, as much as it seems like he'll be running away with the lead with it in the short run, in the long run, he's kind of being, disadvantageous in some ways, because again, having to fend off from soft runners on a lighter fuel load while you're in hards is not going to be really, really good strategy, in my personal opinion. But if you start on the same compound as everyone else, you're sort of you're amidst of the crowd in a sense, so you can scour and see how other strategies are sort of working out and whether to undercut or overcut, for instance. So I think in that case for Dasher, personally, I think him starting the hards would be better, because even if he doesn't catch up to the DRS, the thing is that he's still in the same compound, so he's still in the same race as everyone else. And if he loses an overtake on the camel straight, that's probably just 1 position and potentially 4 positions from the hard runners early on to the softs.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It is a level playing field if you're going the hards. Obviously with the DRS as well, it can come into play. But if he did even lose a couple of positions, he could maybe go for an undercut, and that might be better than just burning the soft compound at the start and ruining that early advantage, when in the second stint you're gonna be a sitting duck as everyone overtakes you on the softs. But it's one of them where it's going to be tricky to predict what happens if he does go for the softs. But I think now that he might have seen everyone's went for the hards behind him, he might change his mind and give it a punt on the hards. But yeah, I don't know. There's a whole lot of scenarios that could happen if he is on the softs compared to the hards. It's very tricky to get that advantage. I mean, it's going to have to be a big advantage on the softs in the first 4 laps that he has to make a big impact. So yeah, let's see what he does now when we do restart. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the rest reacts like as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think the other interesting thing with these strategies that sort of play at hand as well is people that do tend to undercut or overcut. For here to undercut is going to be pretty interesting, I must say. I think we're going to see a lot more people overcutting in my personal opinion, than undercount, just because of the sheer nature of Spa-Francorchamps. It's not something that you can really tire conserve well in comparison to the other tracks, because again, lots of high speed corners. It's going to effectively use up your tires as much as it possibly can. So I think for most people here, I don't think they have a choice but to go aggressive, because being conservative here, I think, is a death wish.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. The overcut could be important as well. If they are going for a hard soft, which is probably the optimal strategy, the less laps on the softs could be crucial when it comes to the end, because, like I said, I think it's past the lap 4 mark. They're pretty much finished, especially around Spa, and you'll lose so much time compared to someone who's might have just stayed out an extra few on the hards, and they'll have so much more grip in the end. It could be an extra 3 or 4 tenths a lap. So yeah, it is important to try and save tyres in terms of strategy. If you pit a bit later on the hards, it could benefit you so much on the softs, but people could go even more aggressive in that fact to try and gain so much time when the hards are starting to die out, go early on the softs. But I mean, yeah, with the pit stops, it can be played with a lot. I think optimally you want to be going out as long as you can on the hards, but yeah, anything can happen in that terms. But like you said, you can't conserve tyres at Spa. It's too long. 19 corners, a lot of high speed. The longest track on the calendar. It'll cook your tyres very quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And slowly before I think we're having the lobby slowly restarting, so that's all good news. Another small thing to mention, it has been a factor in this before. It's been a factor in Montreal. Here in the BUSR, we have seen safety cars here before. So I'm curious for your take on your opinion, if how big would a safety car be in Spa? Because again, longest race in the track, and the safety car goes in for a set number of laps as well. It's fixed. So it being long and having the shortest lap count, it'll be, would you say it is a bigger factor, would you say, then compared to other tracks that we have in the previous calendars, would you say? I know you.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, I absolutely agree it is, because if it was at Austria, 3 laps, I think it is set. Obviously, you've got so many more laps to compete, but if it was here, but closer to the end, and you had those 3 laps, you could only have 2 laps of racing action left. So it could be a lot tighter. And to be fair, it could affect strategy as well. Like if a safety car came out on lap 5 or 6, and the soft runner in the Ferrari could maybe box, then it could actually benefit in a way, because you could go straight to the end. But I don't know, with safety cars there's so many scenarios, but here at Spa, obviously the longest track, you need the laps to compete, especially if you're starting from further back. It's going to be hard to work your way up, but at the same time, if you lose the DRS and the safety car comes out, you've got another chance. And it's a track like this that you need to be in the DRS to compete at the top. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens if there is a safety car. I think there might be quite a bit of a high chance of one, especially if there's moves Lacom or maybe into the final chicane. But yeah, you never know. But yeah, Spa could be crucial if something happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there might be a chance of a safety car, but I'm not entirely sure coming through the first lap, because got the tightest turn one. We have one of the most tightest turn ones in the calendar as well, where all the cars are the closest they possibly can, and it's just an immediate hairpin, and then follow that. Some people might be a bit risky going through a Rouge through the Raidillon, so a chance of a safety car is, I would say, fairly likely. But as well, with every safety car restart as well, all the cars bundle up together, and then those chances of those incidents happen once again as the formation lap slowly begins underway again.
Straight away. No, mind, no formation lap. Here we go. Dasher got away very well, and I think he went for the same punt on the softer compounder tyres. He's already gapping Joe by 6/10 of a second as we're heading up over Rouge. Joe gets ahead of Ben, and Cameron still staying in P4. It's quite a clean start as we headed through La Source. It's an unexpected one for us, but Last Gen dropping down to P10. He's going to be on the back as Cameron still already making moves on Ben in the Williams as we head into the braking zone at Lacom. Who's going to go for a dive? I'll tell you, that's a Red Bull of Geek going for it, and it's James in the front. A bit of contact there as the rear end's kicking out as the 2 McLarens flying through. That's Last Gen outfit on. It's James as it's still going side by side. He's got a spinner behind. That's who is that? That's Mark Sorry at the back on the exit of Malmedy. That's not ideal for him, but relatively, there's a few incidents there at Lacom, but so far everyone in the top 5 getting away pretty well.
And then everyone is just going to be slowly getting into that single file line. As we've seen here before in Spa-Francorchamps, it's very hard to be coming wheel to wheel now through this high-speed race. Now, you can see now there with Alpha and Last Gen Newt now going a bit wheel to wheel. Actually, Last Gen Newt gets a little bit the worst of it now. And his run is now compromised now with It's James now all over the back of him now as they slowly approach for the third sector now. And It's James trying to make the move a little bit too much in the grass, but not too much. I think he's actually lost a position coming out from that exit. He has done to Mad Dog now. It's James to motor down in 10th.
Yeah, absolutely is. Dasher, this is start. He needed 1.3 seconds clear at the top, but he is on the softs. When are they going to fade away? He needs to make the most of this advantage. Cameron still, he's going for that move on Joe into the final chicane as he has to capture behind, but try and get good traction on the exit to try and benefit and try and get the Aston Martin. When's he going to strike it? He's looking very offensive so far in the early stages. As here we go on lap 2. Still got one more lap until that DRS is enabled. Ben, he's making a move on Shinto as it's going side by side as we're about to head up Eau Rouge, and the cars behind squabbling in the midfield. Thomas sees it. It's James, Last Gen, Mad Dog, and the other McLaren of Alphas. We saw the two McLarens come together at the bottom of Stavolo, but here we go. Cameron Sill, he's making that move already as we head up to Lacombe. He's going to pull ahead in the Red Bull as it's ideal for the Red Bull. Lovely stuff as he gets through, and already the gap to Dasher is 1.7 seconds.
Cameron's going to be on a charge now to try and push as much as he possibly can on the hard to now catch up to Dasher now. Again, Dasher's just got about a lap or so before that DRS comes available now, but he is slowly pulling away with those softs though, so that's a bit of an advantage again for Dasher. But again, it's a long run to make sure that he doesn't complete those tyres as much as he possibly can. But it's also a thing for Cameron as well, because he's got Joe and Ben behind him as well. We've got a virtual safety car. What's happened?
Oh, someone must have got a bit of damage or something. I can't see anybody falling down the order unless Finn, but that was, I think, the early doors. But yeah, I'm not sure what's happened there. Oh, that's an Alpine without a front wing, and I think that's Jackens. As something must happen between him and Atomic Fire, and that's brought out the virtual safety cars. There we go, they can see it.
Oh my
Absolutely
God.
Cut away. Nothing left. Just a bit of end plate there, but yeah, that's all we've got left. As there we go, Finn gets the drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC, as that Alpine is going to have to box at the end of this lap. As I tell you what, it's been a great restart for Dasher. He's 4 seconds clear at the top, as that's a huge margin, as that VSC, I don't know if Cameron's went a bit too slowly there and backed up Joe, Ben, Shinto, Geek, and It's James has also been able to close in a bit more to Geek as well, but 4 seconds, that's a huge margin for Dasher. He's got an ideal VSC restart, as Cameron, he's already heading back up to the top of Eau Rouge as DRS is now being enabled. Is Joe going to go for this move?
We're going to see now he's going to go for the Camel Straight now. Again, with the DRS now available, he'll be able to try and make any move that he possibly can. Keep it out for Ben now in the background, though. He's got to be using the DRS as well. No moves just made yet. Coming through turn 7, 8, and Lena Lacombe.
Here we go then, no one really making moves. Thomas, he's making a move on Last Gen, that's for P11, but at this front drain, it's Joe, who's still closing on Cameron. He's still about 6 tenths per second. Cameron actually closing on this lap, about 4 tenths to Dasher, and surely those softs are going off already, or maybe overheating, but yeah, the Ferrari already maybe starting to struggle, as Cameron starting to benefit with a bit more pace than the Ferrari on the softer compounder tyres. It's lap 3 of 22. We've still got quite a long way to go, but Dasher on the softs, 3.5 clear and getting closed in on by the Red Bull on the hards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not really good there for Dasher, I must say. Even though that Cameron had a pretty poor virtual safety car restart, though, he is still climbing up now. Look at that. It's only just been 5 tenths in a matter of just half a lap now. And with Joe and Ben behind, it means that Dasher is going to be even more into trouble. I think there might be a chance that Cameron, Joe, and Ben make that overtake while they're still on the hard compounds as they go for turn 19 and 13 through the chicane now. Gonna see if this is making any move now. See what's easy now. Any moves, and Mad Dog not quite. As there we go. There's the fastest lap for Joe, and it's already a full second faster than Dasher.
Yeah, it's a huge margin. As I saw, I think Cameron maybe he might have lower wings, or oh, that's a big time penalty for Shinto. That's a 3 second. That could really really affect him at the end of the race. But I think Cameron might have been burning a bit more battery on that last lap compared to Dasher. He might be just saving it, but you never know. We'll have to see on this lap if he can pull away and try and make the advantage on the soft spot. Here we go with that DRS wide open as we're heading down to Lacombe. It's Joe. He's making a move on Cameron, so it's going to be round the outside. The Red Bull is going to try and defend this one. I don't think he can. The Aston Martin pulls ahead just before Malmedy. The Williams of Ben looking a bit racy as well. He's going to try and make a move. Can he go down the inside? I don't think he can at Ravage, but there we go. It's the first move in this top four, and it's by Joe on Cameron Searle.
Yeah, great move there from Joe. He really needed that to try and get himself up into P2 though. Ben will try his chances though, but Cameron has sniffed it and has defended perfectly from Ben as Shinto gets the first track limit violation penalty of the Grand Prix so far. Ryan with Flash now coming out through turn 12 of Pouillon now. Coming out of it, no moves just made yet, but he's still like all over the rear wing of him, going through turn. Oh god, that was so close, but to no avail. And Last Gen Newt still in 12th, just lost some time there.
Yeah, a bit of a snap of oversteer there mid-corner. I don't know if he turned in a bit too early, but Last Gen, yeah, big error there, and that's just cost him on the exit to Thomas ahead. But yeah, at the minute, everyone's settling in. Cameron right in behind, only 3/10. Dasher this time still getting closed in on by about 2/10 this lap as well. So yeah, Dasher needs to try and settle in. But on lap 4, those softs might not be as favourable in the next few laps, as he's already getting closed in on as Joe and Cameron. It might help them as well, working together with that DRS, flying through on each other, but don't want to be battling too much, could affect them. But Dasher's really going to struggle in the remaining laps in this first stint. But when is he going to call it to pit and go on to the hards till the end of the Grand Prix? But here we go, on to the Kemmel straight once again. Cameron still surely with that DRS is going to fly through on the Aston Martin of Joe with that rear wing open. The Red Bull pulls to the inside line. Is Ben going to go for it as well? I don't think he can, but Cameron still pulls ahead just before Lacombe and makes that move once again.
Yep, Joe and Cameron are just effectively trading positions now to try and see who can come off better off. But Ben, he's not going to be trying and left out of the equation now. He's been very close, but not quite close enough in comparison to Joe and Cameron. All of his best chances now is just staying behind as much as he possibly can for the rest of the lap now and try to see if he can make his move.
Absolute geek. He also might want to just dispatch Shinto, as he's got a 3-second time penalty, and that could involve Geek in this train as well. Maybe try and make an up positions on Joe and so, because this could be a fight for the podium really if Dasher's strategy goes all wrong, which I think it really is at this stage. Only lap 5, but still a long way to go. There we go. Is that a full cost safety car?
Oh wow, Last Gen Newt's crashed into turn 12 of Pouillon, so that's going to have the full safety car. Wow.
Oh my days. This could be crucial for Dasher.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely very crucial for Dasher. The hardwares don't effectively need to pit if they want to, but Dasher, I think it is a must pit for him.
Absolutely, surely going to get rid of these softs onto the hards and can go easily to the end of the Grand Prix. Yep. What are the cars behind going to do? Surely going to stay out on hards. Oh, they're all coming in. So what are they going to go for? Is surely going to be mediums for the cars behind? Ben stayed out. I think that's probably the right choice. But Dasher could really cash in, as I'll put it that way, with this strategy. It's perfect timing, this safety car, for Dasher to go onto the hards as he pulls out ahead of this train. But it's James, Geek and Ben all trying to stay out. What are these guys going on to from the hards? I'm guessing it's going to be the mediums, which it is. As, yeah, Cameron Searle mediums, Joe mediums, Shinto mediums, Alpha and Magdod on the mediums. I mean, surely, is this advantage Dasher yet again? He's led every lap. Oh, Geek DNF. Oh, what's happened in the pit lane? Is it just in the pit lane?
I think... No, it wasn't the pit lane. It was on track. I think it was a disconnect. Oh, what? It was a pit exit? Oh, wow. He must have spun on turn 2. Wow.
Wow, that's a big error for Geek. He was actually in the top train as well. Everyone's going to get closed in anyway, but he was showing some decent pace running with the guys ahead in that DRS train. But that could be a big error for Geek. Obviously, might have struggled with the colder tyres as well, but safety car out on track. And yeah, that's a huge mistake to make. No real need to push. So yeah, that's a big error for Geek in the Red Bull.
I'm curious for Finn and BB Aggie as well, if they have been affected as well from that, because I think they did crash just on the home stretch as well. I was wondering if it was a pit entry maybe, but other than that, that's a very big already 4 retirements already. It just lap 6 out of 22.
Yeah, are they going to take it to the end on the mediums? That's what I'm thinking right now, because it's going to be really tricky, because them tyres are going to be dead by the end, and this is really where Dasher can cash in and really take advantage on those hards. Obviously, in the early phase, the medium runners have kind of got to take that advantage for the softer tyres, but still, it's not a big gap of time from the hards to the mediums compared to the softs to the hards, but they're going to struggle, the guys on the mediums, at the end, if they are going to take them right to the end, which surely they are. But yeah, are they going to stop again?
Or maybe they're as you say, cashing their chips and hoping that there'll be another safety car period in about, say, 10 laps or so, and then that way they can push themselves into the softs till the end.
Oh, it's a big gamble. It's a big gamble. But at the same time, still, if there's another safety car, I don't think Dasher's made the wrong call. He could still go on the softs later on as well. He'll have another set, especially with a restart. But yeah, game on. Absolute game on. Dasher well and truly in this now, can really take it to his own, really, and might be able to get that. Is it his first win? Will it be his first win?
It'll be his first win in the Sprint Championship, yes.
Well, that'll be huge for him. That'll be absolutely huge for him. Let's see what Dasher can do. First pole position, maybe a provisional first win on the cards. Obviously needs to get past It's James and Ben with no worries. These guys not pitting ahead, and do you know what? I think, well, it's James on the mediums as well, so maybe they could have boxed for the hards. So yeah, it was interesting not to see that. They could have went to the end, but yeah, all to play for. Lap 7 of 22, and I mean, different strategies all across the field, but that midfield pack fighting for the podium, all on the mediums, and it's going to be interesting at the latter end of that stint.
Talking about we've talked about before about the safety car period before the start of this race and how big it is because it just eats up the time off the lap counter now. Again, a good advantage as well, a bit for the medium runners as well, because they're not going to need to push the tires as much as they have to. So say if the safety car restarts, like say a lap earlier, then here, because it's a set number of laps, again, longer distance and shorter lap counts, it is advantageous if you're running softer compounds under the safety car, because you're putting less wear into it effectively in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the medium runners wanting to elongate the safety car period as long as they possibly can, compared to Dasher, who's raring to go on the hards. 15 laps to go. Safety car occupying this one, and is this the final safety car lap? I think it might be, unless there's one more after this one. But yeah, in this lap, here we go racing. Dasher's going to be feeling a bit more comfortable than he was surely in the soft running laps, but we've had to get on way with it, and it's going to be Ben who leads his first lap in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely. I think very slowly we're going to see Ben do his safety car restart now. I think it's the first time, I believe, that Ben is going to be doing a safety car restart in his BUSR career now, and he's going to be trying to see how soon he can put that throttle down with that restart. With It's James and Dasher behind, they're going to be effectively wanting to make good moves now. He's now putting down the throttle now, coming out of the final two corners now. That is going to wait for him now. The safety car restart has actually done a bit of wonders now for Ben. Out for the final two corners now. It's James goes a little bit too deep, a little bit under pressure now from Dasher now, and Dasher is now going to try and make the outside move now, heading down to turn 1. This is going to be absolutely crucial for him on the hards. See Cameron in the background as well, heading through turn 1 he goes, and Dasher really needs that. Cameron goes down for the inside, and as well I think Joe will try to make another move. Yes, he pretty much does as they go through. Rouge now heading into Radio now, down for the inside. Oh my god, that is so close, but Joe just about gets it done. Again, very crucial, and Shinto as well makes it, with It's James has having just so much of worn tires now. Cameron actually gets into P2, going for the outside of turn 4, and that makes it. Cameron sells into P2.
What a move from Cameron, not just at turn 1, but right up until Malmedy. Huge move, and Joe, wow, keeping it side by side through over Rouge is one thing, and passing is another. What a move. As Cameron Sill, he's getting past Ben. As I don't know if he just let him through or he just absolutely flew through round No Name. The Red Bull's in the lead. Dasher's stuck behind with a car in between himself and Cameron Sill. But yeah, let's see what Dasher can do. Obviously in this for the long run, but Ben right ahead of him and kind of blocking his view to the Red Bull out front. The gap is nearly almost over a second as well. It is already as Dasher's stuck behind Ben. That could be crucial in this second stint to see if Cameron Sill can try and get away from the rest of the pack. Our championship leader running in P1 for the first time this race as Dasher finally dispatches Ben in the Williams as the Ferrari set clear and setting sights on Cameron Sill. What is the pace going to be like on the harder compound tyres? The Williams under pressure now from Joe, who's going down the inside chicane. We've seen he's not afraid to get his elbows out, just like at the safety car restart. It's a huge move for the Aston Martin as the rest are getting through. Shinto, they're all absolutely fighting to get through on the Williams. As the McLaren of Alpha, he's also trying to not get his nose down the inside on the exit. Can he get the power down and traction? I think he just can. As in behind, I think that's the Alfa Romeo of Mad Dog. He's also putting the pressure on Ben, but this midfield pack is all racing to try and close up to Cameron Sill. Or is Dasher, you know, as he left it a bit too late to make that move on Ben, and that might just cost him the race win today, but you never know. It's only lap 9 as Joe, he's making that move on Dasher now in the Aston Martin, flying through on the medium compound tyres as Dasher has to settle for P3 as these two going side by side. That's Alpha round the outside with Mad Dog making an absolutely huge move, still side by side. This is fantastic racing from the Alfa Romeo and the McLaren, keeping it round the outside is the McLaren, but the Alfa Romeo pulling ahead just before No Name corner. That's a fantastic move from Mad Dog.
I'm lost for words. My God, that was so exciting for the past lap and a half. My word, and there were so many position changes as well, and they all kept it clean, and everyone managed to stay on track, and that is absolutely incredible. However, all this fighting, though, has made Cameron get to nearly 3 seconds now between himself and Joe. It is exactly the kind of breathing room that he needs on his mediums, and he's already gone purple in the second sector.
Wow. Here we go then. Joe, 8 tenths clear of Dasher. Joe setting some pace, but still 2.7 to Cameron Sill in the race lead. Joe really trying to take this one right to the end, but Dasher still on the most favourable compounder tyre around Spa today, the harder compounder tyre, so needs to just stay with Joe in that DRS and try and use him to close up and try and slingshot each other to try and close up to Cameron Sill in that race lead. But when are those mediums going to die out? When can Dasher show some pace? Shinto in P4 as well with that 3 second time penalty is Ben. Still holding up Mad Dog and Alpha as well. But what is going to be the pace for the mediums, and when they're going to start to die out? That's going to be the big question, and I think Dasher's going to be thinking that as well. But 2.6 is the gap to Cameron Sill as Joe might just start to close in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just need to prolong those tires as much as he possibly can now. He's got the DRS advantage now. Against on Joe now. Gonna try and make the move down through turn 7 now. He possibly can. Oh my God, he got out, broke. Oh, there's a collision between Shinto and Joe. And Shinto's around. I think that might be a safety car, unless, no, he's going to be fine. But Joe comes off a bit of worse of it. But that is going to be good news for Dasher. He comes up and picks up the pieces to get up into P2. Mad Dog into P3 and Ben into P4.
Wow, that was a huge dive, and it all went absolutely wrong as Ben lets Joe and Alpha go through, but Shinto demoted all the way down to P9 with an absolute wild move into Lake On as Joe set now behind Alpha. That could be a huge error. And you know what? Dasher might not be happy with that either. It's held him back, and it's now over 5.1 seconds is the gap to Cameron Sill. That might just be enough for Cameron's, well, when the tyres do initially die out for Sill, that gap might just be enough to try and hold off Dasher in the latter stages. 12 laps now to go. Joe demoted to P5, Shinto to P9, and Dasher 5.4 behind the race leader. It's all to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just really, really crucial now. And it's going to be a dogfight now between Dasher and Mad Dog now as they come through lap 10. They're going to be now in the midst of a fight for P2 now. And if they continue to fight, Alpha will probably join along to that. Good thing for Joe, though, is that he doesn't have too much damage from that collision that he had with Shinto earlier on. So that means that he doesn't need to do much of doesn't need to go for the pits now to repair any front wing damage now. But now we're seeing here with Mad Dog now exceeding out for turn 2 now. Is going to be going through Erosion for Radial now. Going to be trying to keep behind Dasher as much as they possibly can now. Now the DRS is in his advantage now. Out for the Camel Straight now. It's going to see to make any moves now. That is Joe making the move now for Alpha, now for P4. And Mad Dog now makes the move onto Dasher for P2. Makes it before the corner even happens through turn 7. And that's going to be good for Mad Dog as he gets himself up into second.
Yeah, it's a good move from Mad Dog. We've seen him. It's been quite an impressive drive from the Alfa Romeo driver. He's so far been making some absolute crazy moves, like on Alpha, on the previous lap, and now taking it up to P2. Can he try and work with Dasher to try and close in on Cameron Searle with that DRS? But at the minute, still gapping by a few tenths a lap. It's a huge, huge margin, and I think he might just be clear in this stage. But yeah, it depends on how much he can hang on Mad Dog as well in that equation. But Joe and Alpha going side by side as we head into Las Fagnes. His outside line has gone very, very deep, has the McLaren, and the outside line for Joe has just pulled back ahead. And yeah, that could be crucial for Joe as his gap is now 1.8 to Dasher and Mad Dog.
Alpha's got a 3-second time penalty for the track extending coming out for turn 15 now, so going to be very big again for the long run as well. Already lap 11 of 22, halfway through the race. We've got one safety car period, and we've already got time penalty now. But between Dash and Mad Dog now, it's going to be going through turn 19. See if there's going to be any moves to be made between Dasher and Mad Dog. Not quite yet. Still going to be trying to keep behind as much as they possibly can now. A little bit scrammy coming out of it as Alpha makes the move onto Joe. I think Joe's now in the pits. Yes, Joe is now in the pits now.
Okay, on the medium compound tyres, so we'll be going for maybe the softs to the end. So yeah, let's see what Joe can do in that stage, try and pick up some points. But so far, Mad Dog and Dasher, that's going to be a huge fight for P2 as he's opting for another set of mediums, and he has got front wing damage from that incident with Shinto up at Lake Om. So yeah, going to box to try and replace that one as he was under pressure from Alpha. Anyways, here goes Dasher with the DRS and flies through on Mad Dog as the gap is 6.6. Cameron Searle, the pace is humongous, and apparently it's one of his worst tracks, but that's got to be lies because he is setting a huge benchmark at the top once again.
Won here last year last year in the Spring Championship here in pretty dominant fashion. He's looking to do effectively the same. Did it before an AlphaTauri. Is going to be his first to do it in a Red Bull racing car. So it's going to be fond memories for Cameron Searle here for the F1 Spa-Francorchamps circuit as the field slowly starts to level out just a little bit now midway through. But Cameron Searle still leads very comfortably, 7 seconds ahead of Dasher.
Yeah, I think the huge battle now is probably for P4 with Alpha Thomas, Shinto and Zizi. Then the battle with Dasher and Mad Dog. These two are battling very hard, but we're using that DRS just to fly through the gaps. Actually, just over 7, or just under 7 tenths, should I say, sorry, from the Alfa Romeo to Dasher. So, yeah, let's see what he can do on this next lap. He's going to close in with that slipstream as well. But 10 laps to go. Who's going to take that P2 position? It's all to play for. But Mad Dog obviously on the less optimal tyre compared to the hards. Dasher will be in this for the long run. So yeah, Dasher going to be quite comfortable so far as he heads into the middle part of this second stint.
Can see on the timing screen as well that whenever that the guys pit, say Dasher and Mad Dog, see where Jackins is, however, within that pit window. So that's going to be about approximately the amount of time that it's going to be costing. So as long as they can go ahead, like Joe just almost did on Jackins, then it's going to be a bit advantageous for not having that traffic to affect them through the second and third sector as much. Say Mad Dog with the DRS start to try and get himself even closer now to Dasher now, and Alpha and Ben are having a midst of a fight of their own. But no moves quite yet made through turn 7, still in their same positions.
Yeah, I wonder what Ben's thinking right now, because I swear he didn't pit. So is he still running out there in P5? No, yeah, he still hasn't pitted. So yeah, he's still got to pit. So he might be in contention with Joe later on in the Grand Prix. But Mad Dog 3 tenths behind Dasher now. Didn't quite make a move at Lake Om, too far back this time around is the Alfa Romeo. But 7 laps now on the mediums compared to the hards, which also have 7 laps, but obviously going a lot longer and a lot more consistent for Dasher till the end of the Grand Prix. But Ben won 12 laps on those hards. It probably gives Dasher a bit of confidence, showing that he can run that long in a competitive place, as he's still on the back of Alpha on the mediums. But yeah, impressive driving from Ben, but he's still going to have to box at some point. And he's probably still going to go for the hard to soft strategy. which might be optimal for him, but still not going to be able to contend for the final podium places. Going for the move is Mad Dog. He's trying to stick a nose in as he heads into the final chicane on the exit. He's got a bit better traction as well on Dasher as we head up to La Source, as absolutely flying through with the DRS. You don't see many moves on the exit, but it's a fantastic traction zone for Mad Dog, and he flies through of Dasher, and on the exit it's going to be a bit different though. Dasher's going to have the DRS as we'll head up to Lake On.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to have that DRS advantage. Don't see many overtakes before even turn 1 now. But Dasher with the DRS is going to be flying past through and will probably make the overtake before turn 7 even happens on the braking zone. In fact, it really does. Ben does a similar move once again to get himself up into P4. But you can see in the background there with Thomas and Shinto also joining in amidst that fight. It's now going to be a 4-way train ride for P4, and that's something that Ben needs to keep a hold of. But he needs to try and claw up to Dasher and Mud. The problem is he's on so worn tires that I don't think it's possible for him.
Yeah, absolutely. In the background of this little train, you see Zizi, who's just closing in while these guys are battling in P8. Maybe he can get involved in the battle. And obviously, with these guys ahead on the penalties, he can already make up 2 positions by just staying in this train, staying close, and could easily get P6 if it stays like this. So yeah, let's see what Zizi can do, try and close in and try and make some moves. But at the end of the day, if he just stays here, he's in a good position to already get P6. So it could be good for the Aston Martin.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a very good point. He just needs to keep behind with the DRS train as much as possibly can. But the thing is, with that DRS, I think he's definitely bound to make some overtakes very soon, especially maybe on Shinto and Thomas, I must say. But also, we're going to be slowly approaching the pit window now, so I can expect to see some cars maybe making another pit sometime soon now, as it's coming to lap 15 out of 22.
Let's look at that gap at Cyril at the top. Just over 10 seconds as I just spectate on that one. But yeah, he's absolutely flying up ahead as Dasher and Mad Dog behind. Even with the DRS, if they swapped every lap, I don't think they'd even have a chance at closing even a 10th a lap. That's how fast he is at the top. But yeah, Dasher and Mad Dog, it's going to be a huge battle for P2 today. And yeah, Mad Dog sitting P7 in the championship, Dasher sitting P9. So these guys, it might be also important for them guys to, try and gain some extra positions for the final outcome. But here at Spa, they're both running pretty well. Mad Dog's been making some absolutely incredible moves. As Alpha, he's making a move on Ben. Shinto trying to make a move on Thomas as he does dispatch him in the Alpha Tauri. As he defending from the Mercedes, should I say, as Thomas trying to get his elbows out as we head down to Ravage. The Alpha Tauri is clear at the top of it, in front of him. So yeah, he's going to be looking in his mirror as Shinto try and defend from that one. Maybe want to try and make a move on Ben to try and deflect that. But yeah, Thomas putting the pressure on. It might be handy for Zizi as well. He's just sitting about 9 tenths back. I don't think he's really got the pace to try and close in. He's been struggling to get under that 6/10 range to try and make a move. But yeah, Mad Dog closing to Dasher once again, and the midfield pack starting to bubble up, trying to boil as people starting to make moves.
Having hits James with a 3-second time penalty. That's going to be the 4th time penalty overall that we've had, with Shinto grabbing 2. But as you mentioned before, just getting ever so more closer. Ben still on the rubber again. It's just not very advantageous for his fight against Alpha, as slowly he's going to be trying making it with the DRS, heading through the final 2 corners to get himself back up into P4 once again. But the more that he's in the lead, the closer that battle becomes in between the rest of the group, because he's just not so fast through that high speed corners that he's in now as he enters go through turn 1. Alpha's just going to be right behind him, followed by Shinto and Thomas. Yeezy is also in that picture as well, coming out through turn 1 now. I think is definitely going to lose a position, but how many positions is he going to lose now without that DRS? Going through Rouge and Radial now up the hill, and that will have the DRS now for Alpha, and he's going to use that to try and make the overtake now before turn 7, and he's done it before, so he'll surely do it again now. Just a bit under pressure now from Shinto, but no avail now, as actually, sorry, my apologies, it's not actually that close as they go through turn 7.
Yeah, I don't know if Ben might use a battery, to be honest, to try and fend him off. But at the same time, Shinto closing in on Alpha, so he's going to be under pressure. Shinto does need to make these moves. I mean, 6 seconds is a hefty penalty But if there's any shot of trying to reduce the deficit and trying to reduce the positions lost, he needs to make moves and try and get away from the likes of Thomas Zizi in behind. And Joe will be on the fresh tyres. He might be able to close in that much. He is closing about half a second to a second a lap. So yeah, the other Aston Martin might just keep an eye on him when it comes to the end game of this race. But yeah, Ben's still yet to pit. We'll see when he does. The pit window is well and truly open, so it's surely time for softs for Ben till the end of the Grand Prix. But Alpha, Shinto, Thomas and Zizi all lighting it up in the midfield, starting to fight that a little bit more as Thomas now and Zizi both at the back of this pack with Shinto and Alpha closing on each other, with Ben still yet to pit. I mean, it's anyone's game for the midfield for that magical P4 position, but yeah, we'll see who can grab it in the latter stages. 5 laps to go, and it's Cameron Sill, 12.5 seconds in the lead.
Yeah, I think this is where we're going to be at for positions at the moment. I can't really see, apart from the midst of the fields and then battles that were saved for P4, I don't think that we'll see any more relative surprises. Do keep an eye on Joe, though, the one that has got into the pits. He is slowly catching up, but he's got that tyre advantage. The question is if that tyre advantage will carry through into this big battle here for P4, and I think it'll be something very crucial for him for his championship pursuits, but I'm not entirely sure if he'll be able to carry it much longer, though, as Alpha with the DRS now makes the move before turn 7 now, makes a great move to get himself up into P4 once again, and now he needs to just try and pull off away from Ben as much as he possibly can now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what he can do in the next stage with Joe. I thought it was only half second of that, but I think it's more like a second and a bit. Especially these guys fighting as well. It's just come into play. It's already going back down to 9.3. But yeah, Joe closing in a lot on the fresher tyres as we expected, as it could be more in a second of lap, to be honest. So yeah, could definitely, I think Shinto should be a bit nervous of dropping another position with a 6-second time penalty. Alpha doesn't want any more than a 3, otherwise it could come even more into the play of Joe. But yeah, could easily be P7 with penalties applied for Joe at the end of the race if he can still keep closing in. Just I mean, I would say slowly closing in, but it's rapid race, as he's already gained a second on this lap. So yeah, Joe setting some blistering pace in the Aston Martin on the fresher medium tyres. As here we go, more battling into the final chicane. It's Ben who's going for the move around the outside of Alpha, as that's a nice one for the Williams, who's getting very close to Shinto and Alpha, nearly making contact in the braking zone. I think I had to go a bit wider as well, but the Alpha Tauri getting very close in the braking point.
Yeah, he's such a lucky driver to have not clipped his front wing off there. That was super close to Alpha, and no damage. Luckily for him, he's be able to keep on fighting now. Still in the midst of the background between the fight between Mad Dog and Ben. We've got a caution now. That is Atomic Fire out of through the final sector now. But now it's between Alpha and Shinto, Mad Dog and Ben. And Alpha gets himself back up into 4th now. Shinto will try to make the move now. Heading for he taps him again, and that will cause for Ben to spin. And he spins. Oh, and there's a collision. There's tons of collisions now. That is surely going to bring out the safety car. The safety car comes out with only 4 laps to go.
Oh my word. What a huge crash as Joe's just navigating the whole lot. The safety car's out. Surely everyone's going to come in for the softs. And it's a nightmare for Zizi, who just gets caught up in it all. There's nothing else he could have done. He was running pretty well down in P8, and now Thomas, Ben and Zizi all out of this one. And that is a huge list of DNFs. How many have we got there? 7 DNFs in total. That's a huge margin. If you finish the race, you're getting points, pretty much. Keep it between the white lines as well, and that might just help you close in a bit more. As we see Joe, he's going to be in P4 with penalties applied when it all closed in. But what a huge collision. As that spin, I felt like time was going at 0.5 rate because it just kept going, and the big crash, you just saw it coming. You could see it coming with Zizi, flies into them, and it's unfortunate for himself, it just caught him out. But that's a huge collision, both making contact. As now we've only got 9 drivers remaining. Cameron Sill's gap going to be closed right to the minimum, but he's going for the softs anyway, and I think Dasher might just come in for the softs as the rest of the grid. But wow,
yep,
crazy.
Everyone is definitely going into the pits, bringing on that fresh rubber now for the final few. 4 laps left remaining. That's going to be really big now, as It's going to be really unfortunate for Ben, though, really in high contention for P2 in the championship, having to DNF. It's his third. I think it's his third race, no points finish. He didn't appear in Baku, and he didn't appear back in Austria, I believe. So this is actually his first on-track retirement in his career.
Yeah, Dasher might have just been offered another lifeline. We've seen exchange swap onto the softs as well. But yeah, this might be another lifeline for Dasher to try and bring it to Searle. But I just can't see it. With the pace he's shown on the mediums, it was consistently pace as well. But Dasher, can he try and stay in the DRS of Searle? I mean, there's only going to be maybe 1 or 2 laps of racing action left when we come to the end of the safety car period. So yeah, it's going to be all out on track. I don't think it's going to be DRS. Unless there might be a bit on the final lap, but yeah, it depends on the safety car comes in. Everyone catches up to the back of the safety car, but still in a good position on the softs, obviously showing huge pace. But Dasher, I mean, can he do anything? Can he try and throw something in the mix? As everyone on the softs now, as Jackens has an extra lap on his, but yeah, so leading the way, going to be under pressure from Dasher. Can Mad Dog do something about it as well? Alpha Shinto, Joe showing huge pace. Can he try and get on the podium? Anything's to play for, but we've only got a short amount of time to try and improve that position. Who can do it? Who can take the race win? Is it going to be Searle, or can Dasher or Mad Dog try and throw something in the mix?
Effectively can go everywhere, and has done a bit before. Cameron Searle himself, 50-50, sometimes gets poor safety car restarts and also has very good safety car restarts. It's pretty much a mixed bag for him, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can muster out whatever that safety car comes in. And it's just a question now for Dasher to see what he can do, whether from that Cameron Searle having that restart as well, to see how well he can respond to try and keep that pressure onto him for a good lap or so before to try and maybe use the DRS. If the DRS comes in for the final lap, we shall see. But other than that, I think the safety car should be coming in the slack start. With Cameron Searle in the lead, Dasher in second with Mad Dog in third. Alpha and Shinto both having penalties means that Joe himself is on fourth as a final result if it stands. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all goes ahead, I must say.
Absolutely, Joe's going to want to get through an Alpha and Shinto. He's definitely got pace today. He only used 1 lap in qualifying and still got on the front row. So it's going to be frustrating what's happened in his race today. But yeah, let's see what Joe can do. He's been held, I love the word lifeline, because he has been held under the lifeline in the Aston Martin. To try and get through on Alpha and Shinto, maybe take it to Mad Dog and Dasher, but it just depends on how he can dispatch the McLaren and the Alpha Tauri. And yeah, it depends on how the front three get away as well. If Searle gets a good start, it could be trickier for Dasher and Mad Dog to try and, take the fight to him. But Dasher and Mad Dog, I'm sure, might just get their elbows out on each other and try and get P2 anyway. But yeah, Alpha Shinto and It's James all going to be held quite far down with them penalties. Even Atomic Fire and Jack and they can get an extra 3 positions on where they are at the minute. But yeah, all depends on keeping it clean to the end for them drivers who are just waiting for the penalties to be applied, and trying to optimise their points. But let's see if the safety car comes in at the end of this lap. He's still waiting for Atomic Fire to join at the back of the queue, but Cameron Searle, is he under pressure?
Is I think another important thing to note as well is that whenever the safety car effectively comes in, it's more or less effectively just a qualifying laps to the finish. And considering Dasher was on pole position, Cameron Searle's not actually as safe as he thinks he is, I think, because Dasher is super good on 1 lap pace that I think it might actually put to his advantage.
He proved it in qualifying, didn't he? It was a huge... there's multiple occasions where he'd have outpaced Searle. 1 lap pace is there, as there we go. Safety car is coming as Atomic Fire does join the back of the queue. When is Searle going to fight and put that foot flat to the floor for the final time with 2 laps to go? And who is going to be on the top step of that podium? Is it going to be Searle? Is it going to be Dasher? Is it going to be a crazy incident? Is it going to be a shock winner? We never know what's going to happen. We cannot predict this one. We've seen incidents galore, and now 9 drivers remain. It's Searle who leads it. He was dominant in that second stint. Can he be dominant in the final 2 laps of racing action? The Red Bull taking it right to the final chicane. When's that foot going to go down? Can he get a good advantage? Yep. As he has now gone over Dasher. The gap's 5/10. It isn't an ideal restart, really. It's kept very much close as the Ferrari. But here we go into the final chicane. What's he got in his locker? Can Dasher throw anything at him? Here we go. Everyone level playing field on the softer compound. We've got 3 penalties out there being applied at the end of the Grand Prix. We're on the penultimate lap of racing action. It's Searle, it's Dasher, it's Mad Dog, all fighting for that race win.
Oh, fighting for the race win though, but Dasher is still just 5/10 now. Not gonna have the DRS in this lap, but he'll have the DRS in the next lap now. So the point is now for him to just try and keep within the DRS range of Cameron Searle as much as he possibly can now. Going for the camel straight now, trying to use with the slipstream as much as he possibly can now, but also try to keep Mad Dog at bay. Mad Dog's getting himself a little bit closer now as they head through turn 7 now. Cameron Searle still leads with Dasher in second. Shinto himself has got himself up into 4th now with that overtake on Alpha now, and Alpha's trying to have a look down for the inside, but not to quite make moves. But Joe meanwhile is on the background there trying to make a move, maybe heading through the tailbend, and he's actually made the move. Oh, a bit of a collision there, but he's got himself up into 5th. Great move there from Joe. Is absolutely very crucial. He's got Area now just ahead to try and make the move on.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a big dive from Joe, but still not an ideal restart with them two battling ahead. Mad Dog, 1.2. He's been dropped. Dasher, 8/10 of a second to Cameron Searle. Searle might just have this one under his locker if he can try and gap an extra 2/10 in the final sector, should I say. But the Ferrari being gapped so far, he's going to have to use that battery to try and optimise his exit and this straight on the run round Blanchimont. But Dasher, he might have just been gapped by just enough. Cameron Searle, still right on the edge of the DRS. It's right on a second. It all depends on battery deployment, and I think Searle might just have him out of that DRS range. The Ferrari now going to be struggling as Cameron Searle, I mean, it's all the pendulum swung in his favour. The Red Bull flying out front back to turn number 1. He's at the fastest lap on the Grand Prix, and he's too far ahead in the lead of the Grand Prix. It's surely in Searle's favour as Dasher's now 1 second behind.
Oh my god, that is really unfortunate for Dasher. Even if Dasher gets within just a whiff of the DRS, it's not going to be, I don't think, long enough for him to be able to use with that advantage. We're going to see now, running aboard now with him coming out through a radio now. The DRS flap, will it open? It doesn't open. He doesn't have the DRS, so I think that's effectively, he's got it to win. Meanwhile, in the background, that's between Mad Dog and Shinto. Now Shinto's going to go around for the outside now, heading for turn 7. Now it's going to be going wheel to wheel now, and he makes the move before the braking zone, and that will make a great move for Shinto against his mistakes and stuff. Got himself up into 3rd on track, and that's going to be very good for him. But Joe in the background just needs to keep behind Mad Dog as much as possibly can, because this is for on track final results podium between Mad Dog and Joe. We're going to see how that musters between those two. Still keeping it in the back of him as they approach for the second sector now, over through 12 of Pouan. No moves quite yet. Joe still just keeping the pressure as much as he possibly can, but still no moves being made yet.
So Joe's going to want this position as much as he can. This could be a podium for Joe after all has been thrown at him. He could still be joined. He could be joining Dasher and Cameron Searle on the top step and the second step and make it onto the 3rd for the British Racing Green Aston Martin car, as he's probably going to deploy all his battery now, everything he's got into the final chicane. It's surely going to be Cameron Searle who's heading past Blanchimont, already gone into the final chicane. He's going to take the race win. Joe, he's going to go into the final chicane round the outside. Late on the brakes is Cameron Searle's going to take the race win. Mad Dog with the better line. He's going to take P3 surely. But what a race from Cameron Searle. It's dominant once again from him. Even with the late safety car thrown at him, he still takes that race win by 1.9 seconds. Dasher got his first ever pole position and still got P2. It's not a bad race for himself, but Dasher, wow, with everything thrown at him, he still got P3. Joe going to be kicking himself not to get P3, but still, it was so competitive at the end. What a race from Searle, and what a race from Mad Dog to get on that podium, and wow, what a race to commentate on.
Absolutely, my word. That was so close from Joe. Almost made the move to guarantee himself P3, but he just went too deep, and with Shinto in the way, not much of a track they can possibly do, and unfortunately had to concede to Mad Dog, who gets his first podium here in the BUSR F1 Spring Championship, along with Dasher with his first pole position. It's also his first podium as well. But for Cameron, it's all to a familiar face here in the commentary booth. It's his 5th win in the season, and it's a win streak that continues on to 5. We shall see if he can make it on to number 6 for the next week.
Wow, 5 consecutive wins. That is huge. Well done to him. It was a huge race for him. The second stint was mega. The final stint was even better, even though it was only, 2 laps. But what a race to commentate on. It's been a pleasure joining the commentary box. And wow, what a battle for the final podium place as well.
Absolutely. Slowly going to be doing interviews just very shortly as they go on to the debrief, but Cameron Stoll has effectively put in one hand onto the championship trophy now, and with the final races remaining, it's effectively his championship to lose.
Absolutely. What a battle. Shall we give a driver of the day? Who was your driver of the day?
That's a good question. I think Joe, given that he pitted quite early on and he managed to recover himself pretty well, in fact, nearly got himself up to P3, but it was just, unfortunate timing for where he made his overtake down turn 19. Had it been earlier, I feel like he would have gotten into the podium, but the fact that he's done very well to, handle the car as well as he did and recover well, he gets my driver of the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. I'll be different. I'll give it to Mad Dog because that move he made at Lacon past Malmedy on the McLaren was absolutely huge, and I love to see that. That was a huge move, and to get the podium, it was fair play to him. He did a very good job from where he qualified. So yeah, I'll give it to Mad Dog because it was very impressive today. Especially from my first race commentating as well. So for you guys, so yeah, I'll give it to Mad Dog. He was very good in the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really big, though, for Mad Dog and for Dash themselves, which were, before the race, currently 7th and 9th in the championship standings now. But now, after this great result, and with Ender Epic not being available, that means that they've continued that gap to last gen Newt over for 6th place. So now that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that musters in the final rounds between, those two and the last gen. Joe, it's pretty crucial for him because Wooly has not attended. So that means I think he gets himself up into 2nd place now in the standings, just behind Cameron Stoll now, who once again extends his championship lead and just effectively, I think we heard something that he just needs to finish the races now from this point onwards, and he has the championship. Yeah,
that's huge from Cameron. So that's exactly what he wants to be in this position, and he's just done it with 5 consecutive wins. That's a huge margin. But Joe, yeah, it could have been more today. It is unfortunate what events happened for his race, but still very well done to even contend with Mad Dog at the end. Especially, I think the gap was. I think it was over 1 second. I think it was nearly 2 when the guys ahead of him was battling. But yeah, still closed it to Mad Dog and still was able to try and make the move. It was unfortunate I didn't get a podium. He probably deserved it. But yeah, fair play to him. He's up to P2 in the standings as well. And yeah, very much deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh wow, it's very interesting to see how the remaining final races is going to pan out now, because again, this is the last of the permanent circuits that we have here, because the remaining 3 races that we have, including the sprint race at Las Vegas, are street circuits effectively. So next one coming up will be Singapore, which is, it's somewhat saying like Spa-Francorchamps is like, one of the longest tracks that we have in the calendar. Singapore is ironically one of the longest street circuits that we have on the calendar. So it's going to be fairly similar in stature and size, what we've seen here racing in Singapore. And also being anti-clockwise, it's ironically one of Cameron Stoll's weakest tracks, because last time we went on an anti-clockwise track, he DNF'd, I believe.
Oh, well, that could be interesting. I mean, Singapore's a track. I love Singapore, to be honest. So that'll be interesting for you. But if it's as close as it was today, especially in the midfield for the final podium, and the carnage at Spa, I did not expect 7 cars to DNF. It's not exactly a closed circuit, but I mean, the slow motion crash I saw at Lacon of the spinning car, Van Zizi flying in, honestly, I felt so bad for him because it's not what he deserved. He was running pretty well. But
Interesting thing. The other interesting thing that I've realized as well is that Spa-Francorchamps being a permanent circuit has got its walls very close through turn 7 and 9, and it's turn 7, 8, and 9 for Le Com. And it's pretty ironic that where most of the accidents happened was not at Rouge, where we usually have these like sort of races, or turn 1, but it was through that chicane of that first sector, and it was just because a little bit too close to action, and didn't exactly go where things have planned. Got ourselves the my apologies, the interview waiting room. We've got people waiting up, so we'll start for the person that finished on P3 with Mad Dog. Hello.
Hello.
It's your first podium here in the BUSR F1 Spring Championship for this season. How do you feel?
It's not the one where I should have a podium, let me tell you. It's about the slowest on race pace I've been for a good while. Yeah, from all the races on this calendar, I wasn't expecting Belgium to be the demolition derby, but here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't agree more. 7 cars out in the end, but it was a very good race from you. You ran it very well, fighting with Dasher, especially in that second stint when the safety car came out. What was your actual thoughts heading into the final stint when the safety car did come out? What was you thinking, especially everyone on the softs as well, level playing field?
Yeah, on one hand, it was a good thing because my mediums hit 60% as the safety car came out, and we've had to do another 4 laps, I think. So it wouldn't have been pretty, and I definitely would have lost pace. I think I still would have got third fairly comfortably because we had a buffer, but there was a chance my tyre could have blown up, definitely. And then, yeah, as the safety car came in, I just completely screwed up Le Com, and I just put myself on the back foot for the whole of the last 2 laps. And so I used Aria to let him go by and give me some slipstream on the back straight. Tried to defend from Joe, and it just about held off for P3. So yeah, good result.
Having this been one of your strongest qualifying performances this season, you're, I think, within the top 5 if I was not mistaken, heading into this race. Did you imagine that you would have a chance to the podium whenever the lights came off?
No, there's simply too many people quicker than me these days. There's about 4 or 5 people who should just be setting off into the sunset before I can my game plan's all about whether I can stick on the back of their DRS. And that usually means qualify somewhat well and then not lose positions at the start. And yeah, my start was fairly horrid because people just kept on half spinning in front of me. And I kept having to check up and lose a few places. And when it all shook out, I was in the battling midfield instead of the leading train, which doesn't battle as much, so they can stick together with each other. So I just lost time. So yeah, until the first safety car, I was not expecting much more than like P7. But yeah, safety cars can change races.
They absolutely can. I mean, finally from me as well, I'll give you my driver of the day as well for getting that podium. He was very good all race and to stay out of the carnage as well. So yeah, well done from me.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Always. That was great from Mad Dog to get himself up into his first podium. And we've got also the next one coming up who also scored his first podium here in the BUSR Spring Championship. Dasher. Hi, Dasher.
Hello.
It's your highest performance here for the BUSR F1 Spring Championship. How do you feel?
I don't want to be arrogant about it, but it felt the expected result. I had good quality pace. I had decent race pace, and I just kept out of it. So I'm very happy to get second. Hopefully some replications later in the next couple of races, but happy for sure. But yeah, it felt like it was going quite early on.
Yeah, I mean, you showed pace from early on. The pole position was really, really impressive. You were so consistent in qualifying. Then in the race as well, the second stint, I mean, it was constant fighting as well with Mad Dog. So yeah, give us your thoughts. What were you thinking when the final safety car came out?
My only thought was, this is my only chance to beat Cameron. So obviously I spent the entire second stint going, well, Cameron's miles up the road. I hope he has a puncture. And then otherwise, as soon as it was soft, I was like, okay, there's a chance I beat him. And that's all I was hoping for. And then obviously we saw he just, once again, drove down the road. So not much I could do.
Having from the start of the race, you started on a different compound towards everyone from the top 5, shall we say. So everyone else started on the hards and you started on the softs. Would you say that was crucial, in your opinion, to keep yourself within that, race win contention?
Race win for sure. I think if I was on hards, I was in the fight for the podium. No questions asked. But yeah, I'm never beating Cameron on straight pace. That man is absolutely rapid. So I needed to do something different. The softs I knew they worked. They weren't the best strategy, but they were definitely worth a shot, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. I mean, last from me. Well done for pole position as well as your first pole. P2, very, very strong. So yeah, well done from me.
Cheers, thank you.
Take care, Dasher.
Cheers, but
now we'll slowly get on to, again, the person that's on his 5th win streak. My word,
Wow.
That's incredible. Cameron. Hey, Cameron.
Hello.
Well, it's your 5th win. You keep on saying that this calendar is the weakest of all of your tracks, but it was effectively no different than from a year ago whenever you effectively won in an AlphaTauri. But how does it feel winning now in a Red Bull car?
That was stressful, that race. Yeah, we got we didn't have the luck with that safety car, that first one. So it was just trying to manage the tyres to the end. I think Dasher was just having a bit of fun, it looked like, behind with Mad Dog. Just saw them swapping and just losing time. But yeah, it was getting very, very slidey towards the end. And then, funny safety car things at the end. I thought Dasher would get me just with slipstream, but
yeah, I mean, to be fair, in that second stint, I want to know what your tyres was on before the safety car came out, because I think you was 12 seconds in the lead, but then the safety car came out, it bunched everyone back up. But what was your mediums on before you switched to the softs?
I just hit about 62%.
Ooh.
So it would have been close. I would have been brushing the puncture territory, but it was more I was having to push the brake bars higher and higher for bus stop, or I was spinning there. I had a few scary moments into there, which wouldn't have been at risk of DNFing, but would have been of spinning. So.
Wow, that's incredible. It's one of your finest performances in that case. But looking through the rest of the championship now, having been, as I said, 5 race wins now out of the 6, and you're slowly approaching for the final 2 rounds in Singapore and Las Vegas. Last time that you were racing around an anti-clockwise circuit, you didn't finish in Baku. So what's the game plan going to be different here for Singapore, which is also an anti-clockwise street circuit?
Stay away from the solid things, I think. Keep it within the white lines this time. It would just be try and have a clean weekend, get a quali lap in, and then not die on turn 1.
A quali lap not on the inters, maybe?
If the race is dry, I'm doing it on the inters. Gotta have a bit of fun. As you guys are saying, though, I'm sure qualifying's not overly mattering too much. It's nice to work out how fast people are, but the pack's close enough that we are getting the trains and you can move up and down in them.
Yeah, I mean, you must not like left-handers, to be honest, with anti-clockwise. It's a pleasure watching you, especially that second stint, absolutely dominant. Even in the final little few laps, you were still pulling away. So yeah, congratulations on your race win.
Thank you very much, guys.
And that was it. That's been the interviews for the BUSR F1 Spring Championship here at Spa-Francorchamps. So, any closing thoughts, Alex?
I mean, it's been a pleasure commentating this one. It's been absolute chaos, but it's been fun chaos. I've been enjoying watching every single minute. It's been a pleasure commentating alongside yourself. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you very much as well, Alex, for being an absolute fantastic commentator here for the races. The European round here from the championship is now over. Cameron Stoll has now got his lead up into 5 now, including a series of firsts. Dasher gets his first pole position and his first podium here for the championship, along with Maddox just about fending off Joe with also his first podium into his collection. However, the action is not all over. With the European rounds done, we're slowly head over to Asia, which is going to be a return to the street circuit action as we head over to Marina Bay for Singapore next week. We'll see you then.
moment in history where I could stand and say, arithmetic begins here, now.